Alright, what is up, guys? Loser Manic here. Let me scoot over a bit. And today I want to talk about something a bit different. I did plan on making a video talking about a weapon in Fallout 4, but I have no idea how to upload on a PlayStation, so moving on to something else. And I did put in the inspiration came for this video kind of came from a video I was going to talk about, which is why the Railroad is the best faction in the game or in the Fallout series, because it was my own personal opinion. But then I just went on about different stuff about what to do with the Institute when siding with the Minutemen and how to become hostile with them and whatnot. So I went from talking about the Railroad to talking about the Minutemen and the Institute, and it was just weird. So I want to take a step back and talk about what is the worst faction for Fallout 4. I'm not talking about I'm talking about morally. Basically I personally think that the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute are the two worst factions you can side with in Fallout 4. That is what I mean. I'm not talking about they're terrible. Because to be honest, you could easily say that the Minutemen or the Railroad, because they lack some sort of authority, as opposed to the Brotherhood of Steel or the Institute. So I'm talking about from a moral standpoint. Now there is a certain morality thing that I will be talking about, which is, are synthetic people or synths human? And personally, for me, if you ask me, I definitely think they are. But that's kind of a distinguishing feature. But there is a distinguishing thing I'm not going to talk about. But there is something that I think can distinguish between synthetics and robots. I'm not going to talk about that. So who between the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute are the worst factions? Alright, let's start by talking about the good and bad of the Brotherhood of Steel. Then we're going to be talking about the good and bad of the Institute, talking about what each of them, what one does better than the other, and vice versa. What the Brotherhood does better than the Institute, and what the Institute does better than the Brotherhood. To be honest, I don't know my answer. That's why I'm going over this. So, Brotherhood of Steel, kind of comes from Elder Lions Fallout 3, which is the better faction to side with, unless you play an evil character, then it's the Enclave. I will say that, from what I've heard with the Brotherhood of Steel, I don't know much about the Brotherhood of Steel. I am somewhat new. I've had New Vegas for a year now, and I don't know moralities when it comes to... I understand that the Brotherhood of Steel's way of thinking is that they must preserve technology from other people, but I will say that Elder Maxon's is a bit different. Because he allows people in power armor. While he doesn't allow civilians to use it, he's one of those people where... as long as they don't use it for evil, that's all that matters. Which is kind of why they hate the Institute. But I will say that overall, destroying the Railroad just because of sympathizers is a pretty shitty thing to do, if you ask me. Because, again, and although you guys probably know by now, I should also specify this is an opinion-based thing. Because I think synths in Fallout 4 are human. You may not. You may think they're slaves, or they're an abuse of technology, or they are horrible creatures. Whatever the case may be, that is your opinion, because that is not real life. If it was real life, then we should all be afraid. Because there's no way in hell that I am... Because I always picture, if Fallout 4 was real, I would definitely side with the Railroad, even though it's a huge risk to take. Still, whatever. Now, personally, I think it's kind of dumb that you attack someone just because they're not human, and consider the fact that other areas of the Brotherhood of Steel, as kind of noted by Oxhorn, was that there other forms of the Brotherhood of Steel, and like tactics or whatnot, aren't all humans. In fact, in Fallout, I think Fallout 1 or 2, one of the earlier Fallouts before we got a third person and first person gameplay, one of the members of the Brotherhood of Steel is a super mutant. I think there are super mutants, ghouls, and death claws. I think, I don't know. I'm a bit off. I'm kind of going off of Oxmore's video about why the Brotherhood of Steel is evil from this point. So I will say it is a bit dumb to think that like no human should be made from the womb of a mother, because it just, that's, to me that seems like a weird thing to limit. Are you, like, you can join in, but the second you're made in a machine or whatnot, you're out? That to me, that's a weird thing. I don't know. So I don't know where I'm going. I'm trying to like think of words, because I don't have a script. This is improv because I'm recording on my phone. So with that, and another thing is, I was gonna mention something about Procter Ingram, but then that would just be like, no, that's just a side thing. That would kind of go back to talking about technology. But, and what about Scribe Halen? That's another. She's not a synth or whatever. She's human, but you are the one. During Blind Betrayal, Elder Max sends you to hunt down and kill Dance, but Halen thinks otherwise. Why? And if that's the case, and it mostly comes down to certain things. Trying to make this seem right. So during Blind Betrayal, Elder Maxon, if you refuse to kill Dance and you save his life, he gets mad for being betrayed by one of his soldiers, or in this case, the sole survivor. Why doesn't he do anything about Scribe Halen? Because look, Scribe Halen is by far, whenever it comes to siding with the Brotherhood of Steel, she's my favorite. Anytime I side with like the Railroad or no, the Institute sends you at the. Does Scribe Halen show up at the airport if you side with the Institute? But if you side with the Railroad, you have to kill Halen, and that is just. It makes me sad that I have to kill her, because the first time I did the Brotherhood of Steel playthrough, I liked her because she agreed with what I was. She agrees with what you're doing. She agrees that you're keeping technology for yourself, but when it comes to saving Dance, she understands that yes, he's a synth, but he's more than just a robot with feelings. He's put himself on the line for the Brotherhood of Steel. So there is one redeeming quality about them. But you gotta understand that there's only two people here, or one person, who actually sympathizes with Dance. Well, you sympathize with Dance either way, but it just comes down to the fact that maybe I don't know. That whole thing is just a bit too much and a bit too confusing for me, because you, while nothing really happens to you, Elder Maxon gets mad at you even though you were ordered to do so, but the fact that Halen's also sympathizing for synths, or in this case Dance, and not all synths, maybe she feels that way with synths, I'm not sure. But it comes down to the fact that I don't know. all seems a bit weird to me. Was that my dad's tablet? It was beeping, whatever. So if you guys heard that beeping, it was the pillow I'm holding the phone on is on top of my dad's tablet. So, and I could just move it, but I don't want it to be obvious that it was moved, because I'm trying to keep his channel from him or my family. So yeah, there is some redeemable qualities there, but I feel like that gets swept under the rug when you think about how they feel about the people of the Commonwealth. Proctor Tegan, yeah, that's just right. Proctor Tegan doesn't really care about people. Only cares as long as they are members of the Brotherhood. Unless they are members of the Brotherhood of Steel, they could care less about you. He could care less about you. Proctor Quinlan, if you side with if you blow up the Institute with the Minutemen and do the peaceful ending where you bring peace with the Minutemen, Railroad, and the Brotherhood of Steel, meaning you only destroy the Institute, he doesn't give a shit about he doesn't give a shit about the people of the Commonwealth, because he says that he's proud of or he thinks it's inspiring about the fact that you essentially use people as meat shields. And I will cite my sources, because I am referencing Oxhorn a lot more than I intended to. So any sources I talk about, or anything I talk about, if it came from a video, I'll link in the description down below, so you don't have to worry about that. Because I'm not here to plagiarize. I'm here to talk to you guys, give my thoughts. So, and then, I feel like Ingram has some sort of heart, but that's not by much. She's not as aggressive or has a hatred towards people as opposed to like Tegan and Quinlan, but she does give credit to the fact that of how the Institute managed to how Synths are able to go in and out of the Institute whenever you give her the plans for the molecular relay. She's impressed by the technology that the Institute has. So I will say that there are some redeemable things about the Brotherhood, and if there's anything I'm missing, I'll go back, talk about it, whatever. Now with the Institute, on the other hand, honestly, there's no redeemable quality about them. And before you ask, I do consider Lee and Benet a part of the Railroad, and I do consider anyone that you help during the Railroad quest a part of the Railroad, because they only appear, except for Lee and Benet, if you show up, or if you do side with the Railroad, such as Z-114 and whatnot. Even though Lee and Benet is a part of the Institute, he does help Synths escape, therefore making him more of an agent for the Railroad. But for this purpose, I would consider Lee and Benet to be a part of the Railroad, because you use him to help you if you side with the Railroad. So, onto the Institute. To be honest, there's nothing redeemable about the Institute. Yes, they do have a molecular relay, but what the fuck is that used for, you know? It's used to transport synths in and out of the Institute, but only coursers when escaped synths have gone missing. So you're essentially using, and look, it's not like they're using it for anything else. They're not using it to help the Commonwealth. They're not using it to send stuff from like the Slog over to Sanctuary should you need it. No, all it does is nothing. It's just there because the way out without the need of the teleportation is way too long, because you use the underground tunneler system. If you start with the Minutemen, you know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. They don't use the underground tunnel because that's way too long. Which, by the way, I saw on the wiki, it takes 2 minutes to teleport out of the Institute, but only a minute to teleport in. That seems like, if you have time restraints, and it's like and if you're 2 minutes late, that could be somewhat aggressive or kind of hard to deal with. And overall, just okay. First of all, let's start with the obvious. Madison Lee. Madison Lee has pissed me off in Fallout 3 and 4 because she's always a bitch. She only cares about her work. And even with your dad dead, she feels bad, but not by much. So, seeing her in Fallout 4 and having to get her from the Institute to the Brotherhood of Steel, she got a bit more annoying because it comes down to the fact that she got angry at Father or the Institute for hiding a secret about Brian Virgil from her, or of this the secret about Brian Virgil from her. But yeah, if you blow up the Institute, she feels sympathetic for them. Like, you can't get mad at one thing and then instantly feel bad. I mean, yes, you can, but if you're angry at them enough to, like, not work with them anymore, that just seems a bit weird. Right? Number 2, Justin Ayo. I have a massive problem with Justin Ayo in the sense that, like, he always tries to get in your way, and he doesn't understand that I will say that Father's right in the sense of they don't need scientists, they need a leader. Because the Institute is just nothing but fucking scientists and slaves, and you were the only human to have that role as a leader. Well, except for Father, but I consider him more of a scientist, and he is the acting director as opposed to the leader, so that means he's not the actual leader. I think I'm too stupid to know this. That's why I have blonde. That's a terrible joke. So I don't know. Something like that just seems. I don't know. And the first time you meet Ayo, he's like, hopefully there won't be any problems. No, there's not going to be any problems. You can say back off, why, and some other shit. But he seems to be, he's annoyed with the Institute or whatever they do, and they don't do anything. They get the job done, but their complaints is just swept on the rug because Father's the leader. What the fuck? And he's not even the real leader of the SIB. He's the acting leader of the SIB. Dr. Zimmer is the actual leader, the actual lead head scientist of the SIB. He's the acting head scientist. He has no right whatsoever to while he does have authority at that point, he shouldn't tell you, don't get in my way, because he's the acting director. I'm pretty sure there are certain things Father can't do that others can. I'm pretty sure. I have no idea how systems like these work, so you'll have to forgive me for this. And again, with the morality sense, they treat their creations like slaves. So how lazy are you that you create these things just for them to do work for you? The work that you could be doing yourselves. There's even if you go to the Institute, there is a scientist who berates a synth for not cleaning something right. You could be doing that yourself, but no, you're too lazy in your work that I never see you fucking do to fucking clean it. It just makes no sense. This episode might as well just be called Why the Institute Pisses Me Off. I need to make a video on that. I need to write down all of the things that pisses me off about the Institute, memorize that, and then go on a huge rant. That would be awesome. But I would have to do that for the rest, and I don't have anything negative to say about the railroad, so... So, you're telling me that you're a bunch of lazy scientists who do hard work only when it's needed, not when you... Only when you want to, not when it's needed, because again, too lazy to clean the fucking floors, because they have things for those, and the fact that Father thinks that what they're doing is right. No, so many... Piper, Nick, I think Preston and Deacon all think that that's a bad idea. Well, okay, Nick, Piper, and Deacon, because I don't know much about Preston, all think that what they're doing is a terrible idea. None of your companions are happy that you side with the Institute, with the exception of X688 and Strong, although Strong doesn't care who you side with. Well, to an extent. So it doesn't... They don't really care. Those two, aside from those two, they have a point. They just don't care because, oh, we know what we're doing. It's for the best. No. In fact, one of them... In fact, the people are afraid of synths because of what the Institute makes them do. In fact, there are 2 different random encounters that involve people killing synths, one of which is their own synth replacement, and the other one is just an escaped synth who worked with a group of friends, told them the truth, and now their friends are holding him at gunpoint because they're afraid of what he does. They don't understand. Hardly any of them leave the above ground, and they think they're all happy with what they're fucking doing. No. If you came out of isolation, if you were born in some society where walking around naked was totally legal, and you were frozen for and you thought out today, and you just started walking around naked, you're gonna get arrested. That's the shit that happens. Same here, and you can't say that's fine because you weren't around this generation. You were around in a generation that walking around naked was legal. This is the same concept. In a sense, that's a bit of a stretch. I could have gone with something else, so I went with walking around naked, because that is a thing that was probably at one point legal. I think it was. Anyway, but you can't hide and shelter inside a place that you barely leave and say, oh yeah, what we're doing is good. All these things that are happening, they just don't understand. Yes, we understand what it is you're trying to do, but you have a shitty way of doing it. Instead of replacing others, you could be making more. Like they did with Paladin Dance. I doubt at some point there was an actual real-life dance, but there was a real Mayor McDonough. There wasn't a real Magnolia or a real Sturgis. There was... I'm trying to think if there's any... No. But... The thing is you can't recreate people. You can make new ones like Dance, Magnolia, Sturgis, and I think Glory is one, or H2, but you cannot make these fake copies of others, because what you're gonna end up doing is spending all your hard work making something that's gonna die the second it steps out the Commonwealth, because you made it look like someone that they're hanging out with right now. Or something like that. So it just seems a bit weird that they think that they know what they're doing is right, and they just keep doing it anyway. So nothing redeemable comes from this. Yes, I mean, yes, there are some good people, but like I mentioned before, I consider them railroads, so that doesn't count. Liam Benet, Alan Benet, and Eve, even though Alan Benet dies, so I don't give a shit about him. And they brainwash your son. Like, that is no mistake. I guarantee you, if this happened to you, you would be probably disappointed in your son, because, first of all, you didn't want him to be some evil scientist or mass murderer, because that's what he is at this point. He's the leader of the Institute. His DNA is in all of the synths, including Curie, which is confusing, but at the same time, your DNA, as well as yours, but you don't agree with it unless you side with the Institute. Or he's allowing it to happen. This is murder on your own kind. This is what they're doing is not right. So if you ask me, playing here and there from. I'm pretty sure I've ranted about this at the Institute longer than I have the Brotherhood of Steel. Who's the worst faction? The Institute. The Institute's the worst faction ever because of the fact, and I am talking about negatives here because that's the point. I cannot think of any positive to this. Trying to think. No, I cannot think of any. If there is, the whatever. And plus, Sean makes a synth version of his 10-year-old self. What the hell? Won't grow up. And by the way, the synth Sean has like dialogue where he says where he asks like as he gets older if he can travel with you, which is so sad to think about because that kid's not gonna get any older. But at the same time, you gotta feel bad for the kid, you know? He's happy that he's out there with seeing all this stuff, how people are rebuilding society and all this, and he's gonna stay 10 for thousands of years. He's not gonna die. He's gonna stay 10. Plus, not to mention the negative things that they did to Nick Valentine and Dima that made both of them escape. Sorry, I'm like messing with my PJ pants, so because I'm kind of fidgety, I have ADHD, so if you see me like move my arm in weird places, just know that's why. But it just seems strange, you know? Where am I going with it? It just, all of this is dumb. It's dumb. All the stuff the Institute does, it's crazy. What I also find to be strange is the fact that they made prototype synths with limited memory. That is your biggest problem. Because, especially with someone like Dima who had his memories chosen, if you gave Nick Valentine some important data for the Institute and you recapture him, all that shit's gone. You're not gonna get that back because and that is a problem with the question you get. If you reach if you reach the second affinity conversation with Nick, you can ask him what he remembers about the Institute, which is a pretty bad question because he doesn't remember anything. He can't. He won't. He does say he remembers a few stuff, but not enough as much as Dima probably. In fact, Dima even says like, all prototypes, especially him and Nick, have limited storage, so there's only so much their brain can hold. And what was the point of making those prototypes anyways with memory if they're what the fuck does Dr. Mosley say? Fuck, I forgot what he says. But the personality matrices were so limited. That's what he said. Then what's the point? If you have prototype synths who have these personalities and emotions, how did they manage to escape that easily? You are the Institute. You're full of scientists, and courses was later on, but all these guards, and yet the one thing you were supposed to do, you fucked up on. How? I don't get it. Again, maybe there's something I'm missing. I don't know. But all of this. Oh. damn it, my glasses fell. Oh, fuck, I cannot find my glasses. Oh, there they are. So, it just seems... Why? If you guys can think of any positive thing about the Institute, let me know. This is fucking ridiculous. I thought this would be a difficult thing to decide. I thought maybe the Brotherhood of Steel had a chance to be the worst faction ever. Nope. I'm sorry you guys have to go through this. Why are you even watching? I am going to make another video. So that's that. Long story short, Institute's better than everything else of being the worst faction ever. In other words, Institute's the worst faction ever. Yeah. If you guys like this video, make sure to let me know. I doubt you enjoy this video. If you do, somehow, first of all, let me know what you enjoyed about it, because I really want to know. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that. I am making another video today. I'll have it uploaded tomorrow. So I'll hopefully have this uploaded on Friday, because that's when I'm recording this, and then maybe the next video uploaded on Saturday. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through this very confusing and very stupid video. So yeah, see ya.